of Spring River. This is Ridge Runner Reports, a podcast that will help clear the white noise of medicine and politics and help you to find the forest from the trees. Direct from Ridge Runner Studios, here is your host, Big Dave Easton. Coming to you from Arkansas, home of Spring River.
Good evening.
Ridge Runner Reports, a podcast
How's everybody doing
the white noise of medicine and
this evening? I trust everybody's doing good tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about, get my stuff off over here. When healthcare is going to collapse, because it's going to. We don't get to pick and choose all of that at all. The day's coming. It's the inevitability of the stuff that's been enacted, either A, in Congress, or B, by the CEOs of these corporations. You don't want to pay anybody, so therefore you get what you get. That's how it works. We are in the middle of a crisis in the Ukraine caused by our own people. We have seen record-shattering gas prices. We have seen record-shattering nursing shortages. We are basically these stuff we haven't not seen before, but stuff that we don't want to see. Thought this stuff was over with during the 70s and 80s after Reagan. I thought that's how they did it, and that's just not how it is. They have made it a point to make it as hard on us as they possibly can since they got elected in these past elections. Let me get my lights cut down just a hair. And that's just basically how it is. We kind of thought it was going to happen, and then we didn't know if it was going to happen or not, but it did happen. And that's just, now we got to deal with the fallout, and the fallout is, that's my dog over here. He's got to be involved in everything. The thing is that what they've been blowing up into our air and to our minds is the fact that they control everything, or they think they control everything, up to and including the nursing part and the healthcare part and all of that, which I said when they passed the American Health Care Act, it was an attempt to take over the gross domestic product of the country in healthcare, and I was told that it was not. So it became what it became. It got upheld by the Supreme Court, and now we're dealing with the fallout from that for when it passed. It's an unpopular opinion. A lot of people don't like to hear it, but when you're trying to take over 20% of the gross domestic product in this country, that's what happens. It's coming a day where we're going to see complete facilities collapse. It's already starting to happen. These for-profits seem to be working together. They were the people that sent the letters into the Congress and asking Congress to investigate price gouging. There's no price gouging. If you want to know how it works, there's an economist out there called Thomas Sowell, and he basically explains how supply and demand works. You have a demand for a product, which would be nursing in this case. You don't have a big supply. You never have had a big supply. We don't have a big supply. because the for-profits decided they was going to cut every corner they could cut, including cutting everything, including our pay, trying to keep us held down on pay, because they knew that all they had to do was say, oh, well, they're burnt out. And, excuse me, they're burned out. And that's what happened. That's not what happened. Nowhere near what happened. It's not that we're burnt out, tired. Yeah, oh yeah. There's a lot of nurses tired, but that's because we've worked short for years and years. When you use different words to describe different parts of things, I mean, if you say they're burnt out, that makes it a nurse problem. That makes it that it's our fault. This is by no means our fault. It has never been our fault, and it's not going to be our fault. I refuse to accept that as the rule because it's not. When you call it what it really is, it's an exploitation of our services. We talk all about human trafficking in this country, and it's a form of human trafficking. In other words, nursing has become modern day slavery. Pure and simple, that's what it is. They're using our skills to benefit the CEOs and the board of directors and all that of all these large conglomerate corporations. You've watched the past week a mega hospital hang a nurse out to dry. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. And we have watched facilities close down left and right, especially in long-term care. Hold on, somebody's asking something here. Well, yeah, I can. That's a good question. Actually, that really is a good question. You are going to get your answer uh, shortly. And that's what I just texted them back. I'm doing a podcast recording. I'm doing a live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter all at the same time. I'm trying to multitask as I go in my little studio that I did not get to get into today. So I went back into the kitchen because it's not got nothing to do with being right, loud, whatever. It's going to have to do with getting the word out there. That's what I'm here to do. First, I'd like to start out by saying I'd like to thank the 1,194 people that downloaded the podcast over the weekend. I appreciate it a lot. To the 7,200 people that have listened since the first one went out Saturday morning early. I didn't get no feedback, so I'm just going to assume that nobody disagreed with what I said. If you did, please, you can find the email on my podcast pages, and I am now on every platform except Apple. I just refuse to go to Bezos. If they ask, I will let them use it. I mean, if they so choose to want it in their system, but they select everything how they want it done, and that's fine. I'm just about everywhere else. I've been kind of shocked at where some of these episodes have been downloaded. I was really shocked when I saw that it was downloaded in Saudi Arabia and then Moscow. I guess you never know who's going to be listening to you or where they're going to be. I'm getting more geotags from all over the world. I appreciate everybody. Please, when the next episode comes out, please download it. Do it. If you can find me on YouTube, go to the YouTube channel at Ridge Runner Reports, hit subscribe, like, and then click the bell to get your notifications. I need to get that up over 1,000 so I can keep streaming, doing this live stream. I am working on several other shows at the same time. I'm kind of excited about the second show. I found a co-host last night. for the Saturday podcast that we're going to be starting up in 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to call that Life Beyond, and it's just going to be me and the co-host will sit down, and we're going to just start telling stories of our career, just telling stories about what happened in our life, kind of autobiographical thing, but how it all pertains to healthcare and how we don't need to get business and pleasure mixed up, and specifically getting business and pleasure mixed up at work. Uh, uh, and the ramifications that we've seen, the stories that you hear. We're going to talk about those things, and I'm really looking forward to it. And then a couple of episodes in, we're probably going to start finding nurses from all over the country, bring them on to help be a guest co-host and start telling their story, because there's different stories in different parts of the country, and nurses have been nurses for a long time, have the greatest stories in the whole world, most comedic things, in our opinion. When you're talking about nursing, that there is. So that's what we're striving for at this point. So where is the state of healthcare right now? Well, right now we're in a battle, nurses in a battle, and don't really know where to begin to try to get it safe for you, the patient, the consumer. The whole point in this exercise we call the government, and what I call is a takeover. You hear a lot out there about the Great Reset. Everybody's talking, oh, that's this. Schwab did that from the central banking, and the other day Biden hollered about the New World Order, which goes at least all the way back to Bush #1, and every president since then, idiot. All of them were. They all talked about the New World Order. Apparently, it was a true plan. They say you hear conspiracy theories, and they're only conspiracy theories until you see the outside edges of the theory taking shape right before your eyes. And that's the scary part, as well as it being a real part. What you're watching right now is an effective takeover of the healthcare industry by a few conglomerate hospitals. For-profit facilities is all I'm going to say, but all the for-profit facilities have grown exponentially since the American Care Act was passed, aka Obamacare. Everybody talks about the hierarchy of needs. You'll hear a lot about that now that we're fixing to get, from all accounts, into a major inflation spike. Your money ain't going to last as long. I don't know if any of y'all have noticed that when you pump the gas in your car, you don't get as good a gas mileage. That's because they've increased the ethanol into the gasoline to make the gasoline stretch further, but it messes up your entire, gas mileage when they do that. So what $20 used to get you $20 worth of gas at $2 a gallon and last you longer, you get $20 of gas now, it's not going to last you at all. I go back and I work in Memphis. I do per diem shift nursing, regional travel is what they call it. That's kind of where we're at with that right now. And I do that, but I've noticed that it was taking me about $30 round trip. And then that's taking a lot more than that now to get that done. And it's strictly because all of this inflation going on. Hold on one second. Let me pause this just a second, please. I've got something going on I've got to take care of. All right. right, there we go. So we talked about the hierarchy of needs. I mentioned that a while ago. The hierarchy of needs are as follows. There's things you need to stay alive and produce, and air, water, shelter are the first three, always the first three. Those are the first three you got to have to survive and carry on. The other thing that you have to have is health care. And then what drives all of this, the key word being drives, is the natural resources department. You got to have that to build your house, furnish your air, get your food. The health care, you got to use your natural resources to get back and forth to the doctor, because you got to have the health care, specifically if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, you go to dialysis, you have a need to be going to the doctor and getting your health care to stay alive. So we get that happening, and then you start realizing, you hear all this stuff talking about the gross domestic product, and when you start breaking it down and you think about it, and this is where we're going, and this is where it's going to end up. But let's say you break down the gross domestic product into the five things that I just mentioned. You got to have air, water, shelter, healthcare, natural resources, and we give them all a 20% section of the gross domestic product. All the products in gross domestic product go to those five things basically anyway. Well, the air, and I'm talking about air, you got airplanes, all of that stuff that goes in the air. You use air to cool your house. You got to have that. You got to have electricity. Electricity generated by natural resources. You see how it all just depends, one thing after another, after another, after another. And that's how it goes. So we get that going on. Well, when you get the government who is so determined to take over, oh, we're going green energy. Well, that told me right there, you're knocking out all five at one time. You're attacking all 5 points to live at one time. Well, how are they doing that with healthcare? I'm going to tell you why we're on the brink of collapse, what the deal is, and I'm going to tell you how it all links to the Great Reset. That's just, let me see what this one says. Yes. This is at Brendan RN. Okay, Brendan RN. Let me see if what you actually do for a living. So I'm going to text you this question. I need you to text back me the answer, and then I'm going to tell you, okay? All right. So we get that, and so the government, first day, right off the bat, cut back the pipelines off, run the gas prices up when he got into office. That raised the rates on every other section of the gross domestic product. The hit on the healthcare system started 2 years ago. Big time, called COVID. And this is something they're not going to want. If YouTube takes me down for what I'm about to say, so be it. I've got other platforms, not worried about it. I'm trying to get the message out there. This is the most important one I think I've done so far, and I'm trying to get the message out there. But take it down if you want. It'll go somewhere else. Make a martyr of me too. That's fine. I don't have a big audience, but apparently I've got a bigger one than I thought. So you have COVID starting. We were already short. The conglomerate facilities were running everybody short-staffed. when COVID started, you had nurses and CNAs that was quitting, not taking it home to their family because they had us terrified of this disease, including me. I'm not saying that I wasn't hit with it. It just spread out like it did, and that's the way it was. I'm having internet troubles. I'm going to have to take this down and start it back over. And I will be right back. We will pick up where we left off. No, I'm not. I think I'm going to, let me try this. Let me try this. All right. Air conditioning. Speaking of energy, good luck on these storms tomorrow, by the way, folks. These storms that are coming in, they're going to be pretty tight. So there's always that. It's just let's. COVID started, nurses quit. We've had 500,000 nurses quit in the last 2 years. What's happened in the last 6 months is facility after facility after facility after facility. Nursing home, long-term care, rehabilitation centers are closing their doors. I know it's getting specifically bad in Michigan at this point. There's several nursing homes that's closing, several rehabs that's closing. That's going to put a strain on other facilities that don't have staff already, but it's going to put a strain in acute care hospitals and rehabilitation hospitals who don't have staff either, because you've lost all the closures, you've lost the beds. We've lost probably anywhere in the range from 100 to 400 or 500 nursing homes being closed in the last, say, year, because they don't have the staff to keep them open. If you don't have the staff to keep your healthcare facilities open, you default on your staffing regulation and you get closed. That's how it is. Sorry about that noise. I tapped the mic trying to get my coffee. Beds were going to be full with nursing home patients, long-term care patients that actually did have beds until they got closed, but most of the closed facilities are for-profit, profit-owned, profit-gained, greedy corporations who work together to stifle wages. This goes for the hospitals too. They're not closing, but the nursing homes are. But all the CEOs, all the companies work together to stifle wages in healthcare, specifically nursing. So you get that. We're going to have hospitals overrun. We've got nurses that will quit again. It starts fountain, the waterfall starts growing, or the snowball starts rolling down the hill, and it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what's happened. Right now, you've got nursing wages as high as $240 an hour in some. Well, you did before they tried to start working together to cut the rates, which they're going to be unsuccessful at. You got nurses that are older Gen Xers that are going to start retiring. The baby boomers that are still working, that's in their 70s, they're going to start retiring, are dropping off the face of the earth. A lot of Gen Xers are too, where we don't have the schools putting out nurses to replace the ones that are leaving, and you get all of that stacked up on top of each other, and your healthcare system is going to collapse. You're not going to have you didn't have enough nurses, but we were getting by to take care of all the sick and afflicted in the country. But now you're not going to have them. You're not going to have them replaced. It's going to take 10 years just to stop the 500,000 that's quit the last 2 years. To stop that shortage, it's going to take 10 to 15 years to replace all of those people back to par, because you shut the schools down during COVID. And let me rephrase that. The government shut the schools down during COVID. Nobody could go and do clinicals in the hospitals. They weren't allowed in. They didn't want to infect. You see it's starting to build here, right? You see what's coming. Then you stack that on top of these nurses quitting, and then you're paying people to stay home. And why wouldn't they? I mean, if your CNAs are working for $12 to $16 an hour, and you've got fast food joints that's paying $15 to $19 an hour, you have some overlap. But why would they go to a job where they break their back? They're not appreciated. Nobody cares if they show up or not. Or go flip hamburgers or dump a chicken patty in some grease for more money, less hassle, and better wages. You can't blame people for leaving. I don't blame nurses for leaving. You got nurses doing stuff. Look at me. I'm trying to podcast. I don't want to do it anymore. Not that I don't love doing it anymore. After this past week, I don't want to take the chance that I'm going to be charged with murder. And nobody else. I mean, that facility, Vanderbilt hung her out to dry. Your facility will too. They don't care about you. We all collectively knew this. Now we're all collectively talking about it. I've made the statement before that the nurses are like the mafia. You mess with one, you mess with us all. Now we can talk about each other all we want to, but you're not coming at one set group of us. I mean, everybody got up in arms about the nurses in Washington State. They were trying to go to another job, and the judge put an injunction on it. You set a dangerous precedent. They had to reverse it. You can't keep people from going to find new work when they're going to get paid more because the other hospital decided they weren't going to pay them. Then there becomes more dependency on the government. That's what's happening. They're pressing the system as hard as they can until eggs cracks are coming in the foundation. And they're cracking right now because they're the marketers of pressing and then splitting and dividing and conquering and using all of the war tactics against each of us and not having anything else left to do but keep the money for themselves. Right? So you have that. Now you got inflation. Well, nurses aren't going to be able to. I had to help a girl get home yesterday morning. She had no money left. She had vapors in her car. I mean, scared we were less than half a mile from the gas station. And I followed behind her and I paid for her to get enough gas to get home and come back to work and go back home. If not, she would not come back to work. And we'd have lost another one. One that actually cares about her community. Because I don't work a job where I'm bound to a facility. I work at facilities that need help. And I look at the people that are still their full-time employees. They care more about the people in their community and being taken care of than they do about other things right now. But the government has effectively raised prices on everything to try to take over and beat us down. And what happens after that? Then we got to start over. We've got to clear this and that. And then you're at the Great Reset. You see how it all starts intertwining? They sent a letter, somebody sent a letter to the FTC, 196 of them, whatever it was. For a few of them said, I may want to have this job. I better not piss these nurses off. So I'm taking my name off this letter. Too little, too late. Well, what broke the back is you've ultimately, by making the facilities so short, by having the lobbyists from American Healthcare Association and the Assisted Living Association and American Hospital Association pushing on all of these senators and representatives to pass this and do that and make it where this so we can benefit, because we can't make a big bottom line, except then we see that your CEOs are making anywhere from $10 to $51 million a year off the backs of nurses. Those days are over. You might as well hang it up now, because we're going to get what we want. Because one thing is for sure, you can't run a nursing home without nurses. You can't run rehab centers without nurses. And you can't run hospitals without nurses. And nurses ain't going to stay where they know that at a moment's notice, the facility is going to hang their nurses out to dry if you gave one unit too much insulin. And I had the residents that I work with, and I don't blame them. They watched this nurse. They heard the story that she killed somebody, and she was convicted of murder. And all weekend I had to answer what drugs I was giving everybody. And that's fine. Keeps me on my toes. I'll take it that way for now, but it's not going to stop for now. It's going to keep going for now. I was talking to some nurses last night about this, and they were like, healthcare is not going to collapse. So let's look at it like this. They called for staffing regulations. Why in the absolute hell would you call for staffing regulations when you don't have enough staff now? Patient safety is an issue now. We've been hollering for patient safety regulations for years. And the companies that had the power have hollered no for years because they don't want to dump their bottom line. They've modern day slaved the nurses to make their money. And you think we don't notice it? Y'all can get ready because the day's coming, and it's just in the next few months where RNs are going to make $200 an hour because you're going to have to pay them to come into your job. You CEOs that's making over $10 million a year. There's like 8 facilities in the hospital associations. There's 8 facilities where their CEOs make less than $1 million. And I think all CEOs' pay should be capped at $750,000. Oh, well, they've got this great responsibility. No, they've got a tree of people underneath them before it goes up that high. They know a CEO don't deal with direct patient care. See, a CEO has got a CNO that deals with direct patient care. The CNO is on one, he's working under him. That CNO's got everybody else working under her. And it should have gone up that way. The buck with every hospital or nursing home building stops with the CEO or executive director or administrator, whatever you want to call it. But now they're protected. So how would you make healthcare collapse? How would you do the Great Reset in medicine? Well, you generate a virus, kill the old people, stifle basic election results. And it's happening every day. It's in the news every day. They found it's not enough to overturn the votes. I'm not saying that it is. And I'm not saying that Biden's not the president. He is the president. The Alabama AG made us fully aware that he's president of the United States. And therefore, it is his fault when this stuff happens. He can't just say, I never said it didn't happen, because it's happening. Because nobody's stupid. So you strangle down healthcare. You've got nurses quitting left and right. You're trying to cap their pay. Nurses are finally making what they're worth. Nurses learn their worth. Nurses know that you know that now we know, and you can't stand it. We know what it's going to be. And I think it's great. I got a friend of mine, like I said, we talked about this the other day, and it's just simply what it is. They're trying to destroy every facet of America so they can reset everything they want to. You know, you wipe out the old people population, and this is just how a reset works in theory. I'm not saying that's what they're doing now. This is how it works in theory. You wipe out the old people, which kills you get rid of this in oil. You make it so hard in nursing, nobody wants to go into it, no matter how good the money is. You make food so expensive they can't afford to buy it. You make housing costs so expensive nobody can afford to build. The rent keeps going up. They can't afford to pay the rent. They're then homeless. And then here's the government say, I'm from the government. I'm here to help. And we all know that's what Ronald Reagan said. Those were the 9 most devastating words that you know you're in trouble when you hear. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. They will absolutely eat you alive. They will have it to where they control every facet. They won't be happy until they do. And guess what? It's both parties. They're working together. You know how I figured it out? Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden's laptop. The gift that keeps on giving, won't stop giving, going to keep giving. I don't tell how many hard drives they had made when it came out. Oh, it's not real, but let's make all these hard drives on this imaginary laptop. Well, they know their coat's coming down now. Oh, it's a conspiracy theory. It's not. Now they're having to admit it because guess what? They're getting scared. Not only do they have that going on, you got Putin invading Ukraine to get the evidence from the stuff. Come to find out, Hunter Biden's company had a healthcare division, and they own all of the stuff, and they built all of these conglomerate buildings in the Ukraine. There's 72 biolab research, pharmaceutical, blah, blah, blah companies in the Ukraine, in Kyiv. That's the highest concentration of healthcare in the world, and it's in a foreign country, a second world country at that. But everybody was making money on it because lobbyists get paid through these pharmaceutical companies. The lobbyists pass that money on to the representatives and the senators, and they'll just make a rule and change the law just to benefit them and the companies that gave them the money. And damn the little man, damn you. They don't care about that. As long as they keep getting reelected, and there's idiots out there that's going to keep voting Democrat no matter how bad they got it right now. But the tide's turning. We're starting to win. And they're getting it. I don't know how many healthcare facilities are going to have to be shamed out. But these nurses that starting to stand on the picket line, and they don't have unions, but they're making picket lines, it's going to get worse. I see that we probably need to start wearing masks for the blue flu. And because all the nurses in a blue uniform, they're going to be sitting on the curb looking at the building. I wish I could go to work, but I got the blue flu. And I didn't say Blue's Clues. I said blue flu. So once they've destroyed everything, and out back to the reset theory, once they destroy everything, they just rebuild it back like they want it. And it's hard to go from $200 an hour that we should be getting paid right now to $25. That's all you're ever going to make, $25 an hour. You know, the Great Reset means you go from capitalism to communism, or capitalism, socialism, whatever the trend of the day might be. Because once the government gets their hands on every little thing, they won't stop till they squeezed every ounce of milk out of it. They just need to be flipped back to 3 months. I'm seriously considering this Article 5 stuff and see how many states and getting behind that so we can change the Constitution. You know, that they're mad because we're starting to talk again. They can't use COVID regulations to take us down. Oh, well, let's use critical race theory. Well, that backfired. Because we thought, especially Gen Xers, we were trying to do what we could to stop the racism. At least make it intolerable to be one. I know there's going to always be fringe parts of the population, and we know this. But it's not going to change anything. I can't stress it enough. I mean, once you've got CMS paying all of these hospitals this ungodly amount of money, and they're taking it and they're splitting it between the board of directors and their administrative staff, and they're giving all these luxury bonuses and luxury cruises and cars and all of these incentives and benefits, and you've got the CEO of HCA making $51 million with pay, incentives, and bonuses. And then you've got Tenet making an ungodly amount of money. And you've got the big companies making a fortune. You've got like 8 that pay less than $1 million. Those companies are to be commended. If I had their list, and I'll have their list of names before the next podcast Saturday, I will have a list, and you can call those corporations, if they're still open, those bottom 8, and tell them thank you so much for keeping your CEO pay at a reasonable amount, and keeping your nursing staff paid, and your healthcare staff that takes care of me paid, so we'll have a better outcome. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about. I can't. It breaks my heart that the field I was supposed to love. I dreamed when I was in school, and I fell in love with nursing before then. I dreamed to be one. Now it's not a dream anymore. Now it's a full, total nightmare. I don't like going to work, but I've been fortunate enough the last month or so to have found buildings that are actually working the system instead of having the system work them. And they're doing their best to make things change. And I'll help people out like that all the time. I don't have a problem with that at all. I can't tell you um, the nurses that I've talked to uh, that that politically we're opposite of each other, but we're agreeing on stuff now. That as long as they could keep us divided, it didn't matter if we agreed on it. Now they're worried, so they're going to do everything they can to stifle it. Thomas Sowell is. The more I read his stuff, I'm glad I found his stuff. But supply and demand is going to destroy the country too. It can be used, manipulated, and twisted to destroy the country, and that's what they're doing in nursing. To all you nurses, I mean, we all knew that the 5,000 up a week, it wasn't going to last long, but maybe we could get some stuff paid off. But as with, as with all jobs, you got used to living high on the hog, as they say, and it's hard to drop that money. I see a lot of these nursing groups and these guys saying, "Hey, guys, look, let's quit fighting about it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you do it and you don't want to, you're going to take the cut, then make it be a place that you know, or you hear, or we tell you that's actually trying to make a difference. And that maybe that will help, but it's not going to stop what's going on now. They have strained every part of healthcare until nobody wants to do it anymore. Once healthcare collapses, everything else collapses with it. Any part of those 5 that I talked about in the gross domestic product, if one collapses, the rest of them fall. And then here, we're for the government and we're here to help. And what's that mean? To socialism, because communists destroyed it from the inside. And they used the backs of nurses to do it. Let me give you a story. I was talking to a Filipino nurse in Memphis the other day. Sweet as she can be, hard worker, sweet as she can be. She came in under the guise to America that this company was going to pay her $45 an hour, which is a lot of money in the Philippines. And on top of that, they were going to pay for half of their food and half of their room and board for the time they worked for 2 years or 1 year, however long the contract was. And they did pay them like that. What they didn't tell them was, out of that $45, we're going to take half of your grocery allotment and we're going to take out half of your rent every week. And then you essentially get them down to $12 an hour, $14 an hour, and you just cut them a little check. And then you just have this other where you cut a deal with somebody on their board or in the community that you know that's got an Airbnb, and that's where you stick them for next to nothing. That's what's happening. So you're not only gone and made your own citizen slaves to the healthcare field. Now you've gone back, took a boat to an island, and loaded them up on it, and brought them to America to be slaves. Oh, but they're making money. Yeah, I know, but they're not making enough money. And if you think there's going to be a nurse making a mistake, going to come tell you about it now, they're not. They're not. You can thank the DA's office and Davidson County, Tennessee, for bringing that to light. And I appreciate them. I appreciate the fact that they're trying to take care of the public. They're to protect and serve. But you got to be smart about it. You can't be stupid about it. And if you think that politic was local, it's not. The focus in this country right now is on healthcare. And I believe that DA is running for re-election. And I hope that the people in Davidson County got enough balls not to vote that way. Vote for one of them other fellas or females. I know that they look like they had a lot more credentials other than the DA that's been the DA there since 2014. But when nurses sit around and look and we talk, we may not have liked each other, but then we start telling the things we're seeing is the same, and it's all over the country because contract nurses talk to contract nurses through contract apps on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all of those things, Getter, Rumble. Everybody talks about it. We talk to each other about it. I don't know where you're going to end up, people. I really don't. I just don't know. I just don't know anymore. I'm scared for everybody out there because I'm tired. I've been doing this since a long time ago, 25 plus years, and I'm tired. And the government's plan to dispense all the money to the private corporations, CMS, oh, we'll make a for-profit, we'll pay you. Then you can do with the money what you want. We paid you for providing a service to our Medicare patients. So you do with it what you want, but the CEOs kept it to themselves and distributed it to all their underlings and their no limit soldiers they think they got. And here we are. This is where we're sat today. We sat here with a president who every nurse in America is like, why are they abusing this old man? That is abuse in the true sense of the word. But I don't see no DAs going after anybody around them. I don't see Congress hollering for the 25th Amendment to be enforced. But they were trying to do it with the previous administration, the previous president, but I don't hear him say nothing about it now. So why ain't anybody, even the Republicans, not even saying it? And they just couldn't wait. Just because they're in on it. Because they're in on it. It's the same. It's the cloth. It's the same coat of many colors. Different patches on the coat, but it's the same coat. I'm just terrified for everybody. I went through it a good time. And now what happened is the science of nursing never changes. That's what I want people to understand. The science of nursing does not change. The methodology that nurses use to get from point A to point B does not change. The art of nursing is what changes. Used to, when you got out of school, you got these older RNs to train your staff, your new nurses that came in, and they passed down what they had learned over the years to the younger generation because they knew they weren't going to be doing it much longer and somebody was going to have to do it. That's the art of nursing. The art of nursing is the most difficult thing in the world to describe, and that's the best way I know how to describe it. In order for the tradition to keep carrying on, it's got to be passed down. We don't have the older nurses to pass it down anymore. I try the best I can. I try to tell them, but we don't have even time to talk anymore because facilities are wanting you to quadruple and quintuple chart the same thing over and over. We used to have a place we put the blood sugars in the MAR, and then we had a flow sheet in the front of the chart. And we had to do that. And now when you go into the computer, you got the order to put it on, then you got an order to get the checks, you got to put them in there. Then you got to put them in the vital sign section because now they want that part of a vital sign, along with everything else you got to do. But you've already charted that blood sugar 3 times, and then you got to do another one. And you got to keep doing it in the same 4 or 5 places 4 times a day because for some reason we've gotten stupider or something, or the medicines don't work as good. And we're doing active checks back again 4 times a day because after you get it established, twice a day is enough. Once a day is enough. But that's not how they see it. And that's why when I tell you there's healthcare collapsing right before our very eyes, and it's the scariest thing, and you should be terrified of it. Because once healthcare deteriorates, what happens if your kid falls and breaks his arm? You're going to go try to find a nurse to go take care of it. You're going to have the gas to get him to town, but your nurse lives next door, won't come out because he don't if he nicks an artery trying to help the patient, then he's going to get charged with murder? The applications of what we're talking about are unlimited. They've been used in the other 4 divisions of gross domestic product, and they've been doing it in healthcare longer than that. And it should scare the public to death. And you should ask the questions. Nurses, when you go for a job interview, best thing I can tell you is, what can you do for me? You know what you can do for them, don't you? You know what they're going to need. They're going to need somebody to do the job. You can do the job. Can't everybody don't have a nursing license. So they know you know this now. But when you flip that job interview to a job interview, and you start asking, what can you do for me? Let's talk about pay. That's the first thing I say. This is what I'm going to require. I don't tell them what their minimum's going to be or their maximum's going to be. Well, I can't afford that. Well, then you ain't going to have no nurse employed full time. And for anybody that watches or hears this on the podcast, and you're curious about it, and you want to know how much it costs to get David going to cost you $45 an hour to be a full-time nurse in your facility. And here's the beauty of that. I know what I can give you for $45 an hour. I'm one of the few staff floor nurses that can probably recite you every regulation in long-term care. I can write a plan of correction for long-term care when you get a federal tag, and I can get it unlinked. I know how to ADR a tag underneath the surface. I know which websites to go to find out what they're going to be surveying each facility on this next year. I have an innate ability to calm patients down. I flirt with all them 80-year-old women when I'm giving medicines because they love it, but they want me to keep coming back so I can keep your patients happy, so your Press-Ganey scores will go up. That's what I can offer you. Can you find somebody and train them that? Are you going to take the time to teach them how to know how federal regulations work? No, you're not, because you're not going to want to pay nobody to do it. But I came through a time where the nurses taught me I need to pass it on, but there's nobody to pass it on to. Because if you say anything about a policy a facility's got, you have broken the cardinal. You don't come in here and tell us what to do. No, I'm not coming here telling you what to do. I'm coming in here telling you you're going to get a tag. And it's a finable tag. I mean, one facility I was working in had 5 IJs. 5, that's immediate jeopardy. That means the thing they found that was wrong with that facility was bad enough that it could affect or hurt everybody that lives there. 5 different things. But wouldn't it have been nice to have somebody on staff to stop it before it got to the IJ part and might have stopped it at an A or a B or a C before you got to I? That's the worst of the worst, people. When you hear a facility say, oh, they got an immediate jeopardy, then you know they got the worst thing. That's the worst citation you get. I'll be doing another episode Saturday. I hope that people have gleaned some more information from this podcast. I asked a question at the beginning: is when will healthcare collapse? Any day. Could be tomorrow. Could be a year from now. Could be 6 months from now. Could be next month. But unless we change how it runs, yeah, it's going to collapse. It's going to collapse. Will the nurses be around to save it? Or will they even care to? I can't answer that. I can tell you I'm game if somebody's willing to work with me right now, but I'm not going to come in and try to save the day for you. Because you could have done it beforehand. You could have prevented it beforehand, but you chose to pad your back pocket, exploit the nurses, and make slavery of the foreign nurses that you're bringing in. And I don't want to hear somebody say, "Oh, and this Filipino came over on her own." No, she didn't come over on her own. She may have thought she was coming over on her own, but we just sent out big old politicians in the big conglomerate facilities to go snatch nurses out of other countries to come to the United States and work, give them a green card. Oh, you'll earn your citizenship, and we'll do this, and we're going to pay you this little amount for 2 years. As long as you do that, then you can do what you want. But you know, that's not slavery. That's just, oh, you price gouging us. That's what we had to do. You didn't have to do it. We make you more money if you pay us more. You staff it right, then your patients keep coming back. But you know what will help you even more? If you start healing patients instead of treating. Because if you can cure somebody from a disease, word of mouth, oh, they fixed me. I was sick for years and they fixed me. Well, then more people's going to want to come be fixed. And you're going to have happy staff to take care of them till pretty soon you've taken over everything. Well, it costs you, yeah. We have to cut your rate, yeah. But I think $750,000 a year for these hospital CEOs, for these national massive conglomerates, is fine. And if they choose to have a board of directors for profit, then it should be for per diem rates. This is your mileage check, and here's your little bit of money to reimburse your meal. And you come back to the meeting next month, now because we like having you on the board. You got to give us good ideas instead of making it a big party for the elite. The question's been asked, do you know what the Great Reset is? You're watching it happen in front of you. What are you going to do to stop it? Are the nurses going to stop fighting amongst each other to reach a common goal? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I've got an answer for the fact that the government's trying everything they can to take over every aspect of your life, including your health care. And then you say, oh, no, they're not. All I have to say is mandates. Well, we'll be talking again Saturday. I hope everybody has a good rest of the week. I hope everybody takes care of themselves, takes care of their family, visits with their family, takes the time to visit with their family. But y'all take care of yourself. Good night, and God bless.